Albert, pronouns are he, him, in Texas, believes in the existence of spirits. Now, I'm going to guess that it's like spectral spirits, not like whiskey and gin and all that. Hi, Albert.
Oh,
welcome
good clarification.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check.
Hello.
How's it going, Albert?
Good. How about you?
Doing good, thank you. What have you got for us? You believe in the existence of spirits?
Yeah. So as I was listening to John's experience and also the previous callers, I'm wondering what would discredit those experiences if so many people seem to have them.
Well, I mean, you'd have to look at the experiences themselves and see if they all like are exactly the same. Because I feel like if there are slight deviations, then you know that could just be that someone's listened to a story and gone, "Oh, I had that experience too," and they're just parroting what they've already heard. They always say that the plural of anecdote is not data. So I don't know. I don't know what would convince me. What would convince you, Tom, of some of these stories?
I mean, that's the eternal question, right?
Right.
Would even a personal experience? How would I know if I had a personal experience that I'm not hallucinating like John was talking about? Like he just said, I don't believe this, by the way, because I know that there can be hallucinations of the mind. And I don't mean that in like no, you're hallucinating, but I do mean that the mind can hallucinate these things.
And it does fill in a lot of gaps. We know, like, if your brain can't fathom something, it goes, "Oh, let me just fix that for you so it's not so crazy up here."
And we do have a lot of evidence for that.
Right. But you say, do you have any evidence of spirits existing, or are you just in the position, Albert, that you just believe?
Well, I wouldn't take the position that I just believe because I'd be blind faith. But as you said, yeah, some experiences can be explained through like placebo or just believing it to believe it, or maybe even lying. But there seems to be a large amount of Americans who do believe it, that they've not just believe in spirits, like that there is a supernatural, but have actually said, "Hey, I've encountered this." So why would we explain all those experiences away under the category of either they're hallucinating or schizophrenic? Or
you'd have to go on a case by case.
The benefit of the doubt. There's no way to get that proof that you want.
Do you have an experience that you'd like to share?
Me personally, no, but I do know people who have.
Okay, and those stories are the ones that convince you that it's true?
Yeah, along with it seems like millions of Americans statistically do believe that they have had an encounter with a ghost, and that's too many to just dismiss.
But I mean, lots of people have experiences of a god, and some people with aliens. Does that then mean that they're all right as well?
No, I'm not saying they're all right. I'm saying we at least need to be open to that possibility.
I see. Okay.
I mean, case by case.
Right. Yeah. And I can't speak for Tom, but I would examine each one case by case. And I'm open to the possibility of them existing, but nothing so far has given me any good reason to get to that point. So do you have anything? Like
a personal experience?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, I haven't. I'm a Christian, right? I'm a theist.
Right.
I've prayed for people, mainly online, sometimes in person. And yes, granted, like certain things could be placebo, right? Like if they feel something or hear something. But there's been other times, like there'd be this time I used to go and pray for people on voice calls who would say that they would see things or hear things. And when I pray for them, their lights would literally start flickering on and off, or TV would go crazy. I think there was 2 people who their dog started barking.
Huh.
Are there any other plausible explanations you can think of for that? And I don't mean that in it's got to be that, but could it be something else?
Yes, I think it could be, but in these scenarios, the case is so slim for them to say, "Hey, I'm experiencing seeing things in my house." I say, "Okay, I'll pray for you." And then right when I start praying for them, the house all those things happen: the fan, the dog, the lights, the TV.
We should test this then.
Yeah, we should, because I have a light on now.
Yeah, I do too.
Do you see things in your house?
Yeah.
All the time.
Like
my dog, I see my dog a lot. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't being clear. When I say see, I should have been more specific. I meant they're seeing what they believe to be a ghost or a spirit or like some entity or being. Yeah.
Me? Do I see one right now?
Do you consistently like experience paranormal or things that people would consider paranormal in your house?
Yes. In my house, yes.
Huh.
What type of stuff?
Well, his name's Jeff. Sometimes at midnight, 12:15, something like that, I'll hear the slightest creak from the door. I'm not saying that it is Jeff, but I just get this sense of like Jeff. It's kind of like in my mind, and I feel like that's some kind of way that they communicate with me. I don't know if you've had this same shared experience when you're doing that, but for me, it dives into this Jeff, and I'll hear the creak, and I know it because it's on the bathroom door, and that it doesn't open like that. It's not going towards the wall; it's going away from the wall. So I'll go over there, and Jeff, louder and louder, and by the time I open, nothing. Every single time, my heart's racing. Right? Is it going to be him this time? And it's never him.
Are you being sarcastic a bit or poking fun?
It's not 100% true, but some elements of that I've had experiences where doors and the feeling of Jeff.
All right. Well, I was going to say from what I've seen from your content, you don't seem to believe in supernatural, so I don't see why you would think it would be Jeff if you don't, that's not consistent with your beliefs. But so you're saying your door creaks?
Yes. But
you don't see, you just sometimes feel like that there's a Jeff, but you haven't seen anything. Yeah, I wouldn't have a reason to pray over your house if there doesn't seem to be anything that needs prayed out of it.
So are you saying this experiment, now I'm just going to stop you there, Albert. Are you saying that this experiment only works if someone believes that they've seen something? So that's the only time that you can pray for them and then the lights will start flickering? Those are the exact conditions every time? Oh, okay. Well, I need some more clarification then, because it feels like if we want this to happen, because I'd love for this to happen. If you started praying now and my lights started flickering or my camera went off or something, then I might all of a sudden be convinced. But it sounds like you're setting it up so that there have to be specific things for this to go the way you say it goes when you do it with other people who are already believers and already believe that they see some things. Maybe they, have had some hallucinogenics, or maybe they're extremely tired. I know I'm extremely tired. And, that is also maybe a playing factor that's not, that's not, I don't know, part of it. Are there these specific conditions?
No. So maybe the example I gave was bad because it wouldn't make sense to pray over someone's house for a spirit to leave if there doesn't seem to be a spirit there, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to, and of course, as a Christian, I don't want there to be a spirit in your house to begin with. So,
right.
The goal is that there's not to begin with. So we don't even want the lights flickering. I'm just saying it's happened since you guys did ask, have I had an experience? I said no. And I referred to, hey, but I have prayed for people, or I've heard people tell me their experiences that don't seem to have any other explanation.
Well, hold on. I thought you were saying that like you're on the phone with them. Is it FaceTime? And like all the stuff starts going haywire?
Yeah.
So you're watching this and they're like, look at this, it's happening. You're finally, 3 more clicks of the light switch and this ghost is out of here. Right? We're back, Albert. Help.
But and also, you did say that like a few moments ago, and I don't want to sound like I'm putting words in your mouth, but it did sound like you did say that there could be another explanation for it. And then in your last sentence, you said there's no other explanation for it. So which one is it?
There's no other explanation that seems plausible or reasonable. Besides, so if there doesn't seem to be a natural explanation, it makes sense that there's one that isn't natural.
So let's just pick it apart, because you mentioned 3 things. You mentioned lights flickering, you mentioned dogs barking, and you mentioned I can't remember the third one. I'm sorry. It was definitely dogs barking and lights flickering, right? What was the other one?
Yeah. Their fan started just spinning.
The fan starts spinning, right? So let's just, for argument's sake, let's just go back. Why do lights flicker sometimes? Even without prayer going on, why do lights flicker? do light bulbs eventually reach the end of their life and start going, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna turn myself off for 1 second, just to have a break. Oh, I'm back again. I feel like that's what my lights do a lot of the time. Could it have been coincidentally each time you did these 2 or 3 prayers that the lights had reached the end of their lifetime?
Kind of just, I kind of see where you're going with this. So yes, the light shortages can happen or hit the end of their life. A dog can start barking randomly. Yes, all these factors could happen, but what I'm saying is the timing of it. Well, one, the reason I use this example is because then it can show that the person isn't hallucinating because it's actually happening. And then two, it's more so about the timing, right? For someone to pray over that specifically, and then those haywire things start happening.
Right.
Can I? So Albert, like it's like the odds thing, right? Like, what are the odds that this thing would happen? And that's life, right? What are the odds? I like to think about it. You probably, you sound a little not old enough to maybe know the Fatboy Slim, but they have this music video back in the MTV days of a song that they do right here, right now, and it goes through like the whole evolution, right? So whether from nothing to everything, right? Everything that we know now today, or if you don't want to start with nothing, it's a video starts. Anywho, that happened. Whether you believe the Earth is 6,000 years ago or 12 billion years ago or whatever, everything happened. Now you're here talking to us right now. And I like to imagine when I'm rollerblading on my way to get my, you got to rollerblade and get exercise in there. I see all these pill bugs. Those little pill bugs, roly-polies, we call them growing up. These pill bugs. Everything happened. Thousands of years or billions of years. Everything happened. And one of those as I'm skating my right skate, shoot, right between the wheels, that roly-poly goes, perfectly safe and fine. What are the odds that roly-poly would have made it crossing the path? And I come with my skate, and instead of crushing them, goes right through the 2 parts. Why was I going to brake at that point? He would have killed, or she, but it didn't happen. And then I like to think about all the other roly-polies that didn't make it, right? And I'm not trying to kill these roly-polies. What I'm saying are, what are the odds for anything at any point, at any time? You're talking to us right now. What are the odds? I wasn't supposed to be here. Now I'm here.
So I'm
see
trying
that landed.
So
even I'm thinking, wow,
yeah. So if we dismiss all the times people see like manifested like a presence or like a person, like what they think is a ghost, as hallucinating, right, or placebo, and then we see physical, like things in the physical realm moving or changing or like all happening at a really odd time, that rules out like everything. So how are you gonna ever find the truth that you want on this if you have no basis? You have nothing that could support it since you're ruling it all out.
But if something's starting to manifest in the physical world, that would then mean, surely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that it's then demonstrable. If it's manifesting physically, you can then go, here's this physical thing. I can now prove to you that this is happening because it's now physical. Right? It's no longer supernatural. It's become a real thing. I can now prove it to you. Why isn't that happening?
Why haven't people like physically like felt something?
But so is that a physical thing, or is that then becoming more of a mental thing where your brain's just playing tricks on you again? You're going, oh, I felt something. I'm 40 years old. I have felt things plenty of times, and muscles twinge, and air hits you in certain ways, and it feels like touch.
Albert, John used to talk to dead people all the time.
We work through. I mean, yeah. If it's physical, you feel it. You feel through your senses. I mean, how else would you feel it?
Right.
Something physical.
But it's got to stay there.
You
gotta do something.
It's not necessarily that want to refute anything.
And we were talking about. Thankfully, there are some very intelligent people that work on this show. So, what you were talking about earlier was Littlewood's law. Thanks, Kelly, for this. So I'm going to tell you what the exact wording that's written down here. Littlewood's law states that a person can expect to experience events with odds of 1 in a million at the rate of about once per month. Does that not then go, hang on, coincidence? It happens.
All right, I see what you're saying, and that can happen some of the time. So I'm just gonna scrap all that. Okay, so what evidence do you need then? Like what could I provide or learn so I can figure out if there is any for it?
I don't know. I don't think there's any. I don't know what would convince me until it convinces me. I don't know how I can be any more specific with that. But I was really intrigued by your whole praying and things happening. You've said it's happened a few times, and I would love for, like, if you were to pray now and things were to happen, that might convince me.
Again, I don't think you have a spirit in your house. I mean, I wouldn't mind praying on call, like briefly, but
what about my house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have to be in the property? Because
so I can't
listen, I don't believe, but when I'm walking through the theater that people say is haunted, I get it. Like, you know, when you feel your spine and the hairs on the back of your neck just go, whoa, I get that a lot when I'm walking through the theater. So do I have to be in the building for you to then pray for the things to happen? Does it affect it if I'm not in the building?
Yeah.
It does affect it.
No, it doesn't affect it.
Oh, okay. Well, then, okay. I have experiences when I'm in the theater by myself, where I feel like, oh, something's watching me, or something's past me, or something. I don't believe that it is a spirit, but like, if there's something you could do to help me, like, get past, that feeling, would you doing that then mean that my lights start to flicker now?
Look, I was not saying that some things can't be explained naturally or just as a personal feeling or a subjective experience. My whole argument was that so many people are experiencing it and so many of them align that I don't think it's good to put it under an umbrella as all either faking or placebo or, being able to be explained in that way.
Does it concern you at all that, like, you're right, people have this shared experience across the globe, right? Not just here, and yet they choose to label those experiences with a different flavor, kind of depending on the geography that they're born in, for the most part? Like, how do you contend with that?
Yeah,
that
and
people have all these different.
Yeah, I don't think. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I'm just saying, how do you reason through that?
Yeah. So just because we call it different things doesn't mean it's not there. Do you know what I mean? So they might perceive it different or name it different, but if it's the same thing, that it doesn't refute it.
But they're mutually, many of them are mutually exclusive here, right?
I could call it a ghost.
Yeah. Sure, but these ideas are mutually exclusive to cultures, right? You believe, I am assuming, in a Christian God and Jesus and all that fun stuff, with the same amount of tenacity and confidence as a Muslim believes in Islam and the Quran and Muhammad. So, like, how do you reconcile these things? This person, it believes those things because Muhammad spoke to him. Like, and on your case, I'm assuming God has talked to you to some degree. Well, shoot darn it, which one of us is right? Because what happens afterwards is not good if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so the view that I'm holding, all of that would actually be consistent with it, because I'm not saying my God, my spirit is the only one, right? If there's these invisible entities, then they, of course, what they perceive as a God can speak to them and so on.
But if they're invisible, how do you know that they're there?
So that's how I. Sorry.
If they're invisible, because things that are invisible we can't see, right? How do you know that it's there if it's invisible and you can't see? Rather than you just, like, maybe think.
Again, that's what I meant by, so when something manifests, right? So you physically see it, it makes itself known when it originally
so it's no longer invisible.
Or you hear it.
Right. Right. I'm going to just flip. I've got one more question for you before we let you go. So you asked us, what would convince you? What would convince you that it is all natural?
I guess I'd have to go case by case and find out it's all natural. But until then, I mean, it'd be a false assumption. I mean, it's working from two different perspectives and worldviews. I get that. But.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is you'd go case by case, but until then, you see too many collected for it to not be supernatural. Is that just like?
Yeah. We have to go off the consistent experiences.
Okay, so you group them together to go, this is supernatural, but then go case by case to say, do I believe this one or not?
Well, if even one doesn't have a natural explanation, that automatically proves that there is something more than the natural. Now,
how does it do that?
But for you to prove that all is natural, you'd have to go case by case. Right. So that's what would convince me.
So you're saying that if something can't be proved naturally, that automatically means that it's supernatural.
I understand that history advances, right, in science and knowledge. So there can be something that we find out later on that we don't know yet. But I'm not going to make that assumption. If all these millions of people are saying, hey, like sleep paralysis, how it's worldwide, it's national.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is until you can discover a naturalistic reason for it, you're just going to go with, okay, well, I'm going to just say this is supernatural until I can find out otherwise.
You either do one or the other. If there doesn't seem to be a plausible natural explanation, then I want to conclude it's natural. Absolutely.
Why wouldn't you just say, I don't know why that happened. Let's keep researching until we find out, rather than going, I'm going to answer this as this, and then I'm done with it.
I think that's what it comes down to. Is we John and I kind of like live in this uncomfortable.
Go. What are you saying, Tom?
Sorry, Albert. I was saying, like, we live in this uncomfortable place. Like you're saying there's two choices. We have to believe natural or supernatural. Mm-hmm. And I think John and I both, we suspect it's natural, but we don't know. So we kind of live in this uncomfortable, I don't know. Maybe. Nah, I haven't seen anything.
Right.
Ghosts, we're open to it. Give us the evidence and maybe we can get somewhere. Right now, I'm not seeing it. The lights are flickering and stuff like that. You asked what you should do. My suggestion, find, just like what John did, to figure out how he could harness the power of talking to dead people. Right. He went and did his research. He tried to find, how do I learn this talent? How do I manifest it better? That's what you should do. If you're flickering lights and getting rid of demons and rodents starts getting out of the house, go get yourself aligned with a group of people who also do this and figure out how you can harness that power and use it for good. I don't want this to be an origin story where you're coming back years from now dealing with the ACA, but go do the research and see if you can replicate this consistently, and then bring it to scientists and have them study you, because you will be one in how many billion are here?
8 billion. 8.5 billion. I don't know.
When we get there.
I know. I'm contributing to that now as well. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think Tom's right. I think if this thing happens to you like more than once, you should be able to replicate it. And let's maybe come back in a couple of months and go, right, I've learned how to harness this power. I'm going to do some prayers for you right now, and your lights are going to flicker. Maybe even the broadcast will end because I prayed so hard and I know how to harness this power. I feel like if you go and do that, Albert, I'm convinced. I'm absolutely convinced.
Last thing. So if I come back with my experiences, like I already just did, what would persuade you? Because I don't think that actually would. I think it would be dismissed.
I just told you that would convince me. If you prayed on a broadcast and my lights started flickering and some weird stuff started happening because of your prayers, that would convince me. But I don't want you to come back with experiences of it. I want you to come back with this harnessed power.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So with something that results in that experience. Okay, so you're saying,
yeah, because you've said,
cool. Thanks for the conversation.
No, man, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Albert.
Yeah, you have a good one.
That's
and
fun.
go and work on those powers because I want to see this.